Welcome to December 2019, Dominic. It is the second day of December, which means Christmas is 3 weeks and 2 days away, which means you've got less than 3 weeks left to make sure that your first semester of 7th or 8th grade year is very successful grade-wise. So it's going to be very difficult to stay focused, Zacchaeus, because we are in between holiday seasons, so you have to try extra hard to focus. I do not remember going over page 232, so I understand we may have done it, viewed before we left for Thanksgiving break. The answers on page 232, 7 through 18. If I already did it, oh well, it doesn't hurt to review it. I'm on page 232, and we're the answers to numbers 7 through 18. So be there, be square.
What?
Never heard that before. Yeah. Never heard of be there, be square. That's hard to believe. All right, here we go. Number 7. Everybody paying attention? Yeah. Time to focus, middle school. 766. 766. 32 there, Isaac? Isaac, even if you weren't here the last couple days, I want you to look at number 7 on 232 and say to yourself, oh yeah, 766, because the simple rule for multiplying fractions is straight across the numerator, straight across the denominator. The only thing is you've got this extra tool in your toolbox that allows you to reduce before you even multiply, called cross-canceling, right? Number 8, 6/25. Because if I just followed the rule, I would get 12/50ths and then reduce it. But Sydney says, hey, why not reduce before you start? 6/25. Number 9, 1/6. Positive 1/6, Bella says, because I'm multiplying two negatives. When you're multiplying or dividing, if they're the same sign, always positive. Number 10, negative 25 over 72. Not be reduced. Number 11, 4.5. Number 12, negative 1. Number 13, 8 3/4. 35 over 4. Remember, don't leave your answer improper. 8 3/4. Number 14, negative 10 1/4. Number 15, 27 2/9. Number 16, negative 24 3/10. Number 17, 14 2/5. And number 8, negative 19 4/5. I do believe we actually had to do number 19 as well. And
No, we didn't.
all right. I was going to give you the answer in case.
Funny thing, we did number 18 on the last lesson too. So
There you go.
for half of it.
I'm sorry. All right. How many remember that dividing fractions is very similar to multiplying fractions? You just got to remember one thing, Mr. Mitchell, and that is you use the division sign to a multiplication sign as long as you flip the divisor. Please do not mess with the first number. It's follow this rule. Change, flip. Don't flip, change. Say this. Change, flip.
Change, flip.
Because the problem some kids have when they first learn this is they get confused on which fraction that they invert. So it's change, flip. Change it to multiplication, invert the divisor, and then you just follow the rules for multiplication. Remember those days?
Yes.
So there's a whole lot of, they got those tiles there on page 234 in case you're a visual learner, and if you want to look at that, you can, but it's really simple. It's change it to multiplication and multiply by the reciprocal, to use the mathematical language. Reciprocal is fancy word for invert or flip it. So flip it, flipper. Change it to multiplication and change or flip the divisor. Let's see if you pick up on that real quick like I think you will. Go all the way down to the bottom of 235. Number 5 says 6 2/7 divided by 4. All the way at the bottom of 235. 6 2/7 divided by 4. See if you get what I get. First rule is you can't multiply fractions unless you have two fractions. So I got to change this guy to 44/7 and this guy to 4/1. Then they say divide, I say nay. I'm going to multiply as I
Flip it.
Does that make sense? What's the opposite of division? What's the opposite of 4/1?
1/4.
Makes perfect mathematical sense. Then I could do the opposite operation as long as I'm doing the opposite that they intended to do. I'm changing it from division to multiplication. That's opposite. So, whoop, I'm going to do the opposite, 1/4. Nice cross canceling going on. Answer is 11/7. 1 and 4/7. If you got that for number 5, you are on your way. How about 6? Anybody get done with that yet? Half you aren't even working. Number 6. -12 1/4 divided. First of all, one of them's positive and one of them's negative. What's my final answer going to be? Negative. So I know that going in. I can't multiply fractions unless I have two fractions. This is 49/4. I'll stop there. Anything. Is there anyone that doesn't understand why I wrote 49/4 here? Please raise your hand if you don't, because it'd be silly to keep going and get stuck way back here. 12 times 4 plus 1. Keep your denominator. Do you mind if I already think you're ready to step. I'm not going to write divided by 4/1. I'm already going to go right to this. Times 1/7. Is that okay if I do that? No. Raise your hand if you don't get what I just did. Here's the original problem, and here's what I changed it to. And I didn't change the problem, by the way. I just fixed it so I can do it mathematically. I can't divide fractions. I actually multiply. I'd have to find the common denominator and all that. I actually multiply by the reciprocal. I haven't even made it a negative yet. I got that figured out. Listen, I'm going to, but I already got, that's why I asked that first. What's the final answer going to be? Negative. I didn't want to confuse it. I want to work with the. So, don't you love when this happens? Make that anytime you can make something a 1. 7/4. Answer?
-1 and 3/4.
-1 and 3/4. -1 and 3/4. Number 7. How many are ahead of me and already done with number 7?
I am. I'm not. I'm not.
7 1/3 divided by 1 4/7. We have two mixed numbers. Can't multiply fractions unless you have two fractions. Got to make these both fractions. Times 3 is 21 plus 1, 22/3. 1 times 7 plus 4, 11/7. Wait, I better write this one out. I'm going to divide by 11/7, and then it's 22/3 times, flip it, flipper, 7/11. Here, all I did was change them to improper fractions. Then I change it to multiplication. What's the opposite of division? multiplication. What's the opposite of 11 over 7? Whoop! 7 over 11. I can cross cancel. That's a beautiful thing. Listen, do I have to cross cancel? Rachel, is it a law that I have to cross cancel? Rachel, do I have to, if I something to fix at home and I got a nice socket set and I can put it on there and use my ratchet wrench and just go like this a couple times and it comes right off? Can I, if I want to, like bang my knuckles off of something and use an old monkey wrench or something to take it off? Yeah. But why would I, right? If I can cross cancel, I'm going to use that tool. Make the number smaller while I can. 14 over 3. And the answer is?
4 and 2/3.
4 and 2/3. 4 and 2/3 is the answer to number 7. And number 8.
I don't know if you cross cancel.
You already do number 8, Dominic? Or are you waiting for?
I'm confused.
You're confused on 8?
I'm trying to figure out if you can cross cancel.
15 and 3/4. Is anybody thrown off by the parentheses, first of all?
No.
Does that mess you up?
No.
Okay, somebody can tell me, why did they put that number in parentheses? Okay, so what are they trying to avoid? Okay, trying to make sure you don't get confused because you see a division sign followed by a subtraction sign. That's the only reason the parentheses are there. But some kids, they see the parentheses and they're like, what? Does that change anything? No, it's just putting that value in parentheses so that you're not having a division sign, then a subtraction sign. So that's the only deal there. So they've got negative 15 and 3/4 divided by negative, positive, negative 2 and 5/8. Can't multiply fractions unless you have two fractions. 63 over 4 divided by negative 21 over 8. Uh-oh. That doesn't look good, but watch this. 63 over 4 times 8 over 21. That looks much better, doesn't it? Because now I look this way, and I see that they have a common factor, which is
21.
times tables, people. 21, but even if you didn't know that, you would know your times tables at least 7, right? But how many figured out that 21 times 3 is 63 in their head? All right. That's where listen, if you couldn't get it down to 1 and 3, hopefully you get at least down to 3 and 9. Then you would have seen 1 and 3. So this becomes a 1, that becomes a 3, that becomes a 1, that becomes a 2. That's a beautiful thing because now it's 6 over 1 or just, but it's negative 6. Don't forget the negative. Yes, sir.
What if the 4 would have been a 2?
What if the 4? If this would have been a 2? Okay, here's the question because this is a sticking point for some. When you're cross-canceling, if the lower number doesn't go into the bigger number, some kids don't cross-cancel. You're just looking for any common factor. So if this would have been a 2, then you would have gone 2 and 4.
Okay.
I think that's what you meant. Yeah. Everybody good? For today? On page 236 and 237.
And?
Yeah. 3 through 19. Go. That's not bad. You still got 18 minutes.
Wait, what was the number?
236, 237, 3 through 19. $236 and $237. 17 problems for 17 minutes. Yes, sir.
Can you do number 6 on the board?
Absolutely. All right. So I know going in, I got two negatives. My answer is going to be positive in the end. I got negative 5, 6 divided by negative 2/1. I'm going one step at a time. I changed the division to multiplication. As long as I multiply by the reciprocal or flip it, invert it. That would be negative 1/2. Right? Do I have to cross cancel? No. And in this case, I can't cross cancel because 2 and 5 don't cancel each other. So it's 5/12. Negative times negative. Answer is positive 5/12. Got that, Steeler fan?
Yeah.
Just making sure. Never know. Duck, duck, goose. That's all I kept saying yesterday. Duck, duck, goose. Got beat by a duck. Seriously. The Browns got beat by a duck.
I bet they
Yeah.
did.
You know it.
No, it's a bad pass. I didn't want to take it. Watched like 3 minutes of the game. My dad said I don't care about the game.
We care more about Saturdays.
Yeah.
Buckeyes. Yeah.
We were watching that game. We were at
Did you see that
and there were like people watching the game that were all Ohio State fans, and there was like one Michigan fan.
Did you see the Alabama-Auburn game? Bro, Michigan went crazy. There was that one play that threw off, and then Michigan was doing 12 down.
They did good. Like first 5 minutes.
Oklahoma.
And it was like,
I feel like
it was like
think they deserve to get it over Georgia.
No, Georgia. Who do you think's gonna get?
I don't see them very much, so I don't know.
I know they're on.
I guess I would take Oklahoma over Georgia or Utah.
He likes Georgia's son.
They probably won't put Oklahoma. They're gonna put Georgia there, won't they?
No, they should.
They're gonna go Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia.
Yeah.
11 minutes to no homework. Ask questions if there's something you do not understand. The only stupid question is the one that wasn't asked. That you're sitting there like, I don't want to ask. They might think I'm not smart. They might laugh at me. And we know, as our friend Micah would never laugh at Spencer for asking a question. Right, Micah?
He would.
Remember, hey, this is all being recorded, Micah. Be honest. Did you laugh at Spencer for asking a question?
It depends on
I knew
what.
this. Yes.
Okay, number 14.
Yes, ma'am.
Steelers sub-question like.
Number 14. We got 9/14 divided by negative 3/26. Is that it? Did I write it correctly, Lauren? Even in that ridiculous color?
Yeah.
So this becomes 9/4. I'm going to take a big step here, and I'm going to skip a step. But I'll you understand what I did. Ready? Times negative 26 over 3. I actually didn't have to skip a step that time.
14.
I look diagonally, and I see that I can reduce before I multiply, because 3 goes into 3 once, and it goes into 9 3 times. Now I thought this is what Noah was getting at with his. I look at 14 and 26, and I'm like, oh, 14 doesn't go into 26. But could I still cancel?
Yeah.
Is there still a way to make these numbers smaller before I make them bigger? Yeah, because 2 is a common factor. 4 is not, but 2 is. So I could say 2 goes into 14 7 times, and 2 goes into 26. A little easier. Especially for those of you that took my advice 2 or 3 years ago, and I said, why do you stop at the 12s just because everybody else? Why do you stop memorizing your times table just because in 3rd grade they told you have to know your 12s? Why don't you know your 13s? Why don't you know what 3 times 13 like David and I do? Boom, 39. Over 7. Final answer? 5 4/7. That is number, what number was that?
14.
14.
Oh,
8 minutes to no homework.
no.
Hey, I made some speeding tickets out for 5th graders. I could use them for middle school too, though, Spence. Since I didn't have these when you were in 5th grade, Spence.
Oh, you should have.
Maybe I got a lot of makeup work to do.
We never did anything.
You know, sometimes they have these cameras on the highway, and there might not be a cop car, but you get a thing in the mail later that you were speeding. You're like, what? And they show you a picture of your car and your license plate. Yep, it was you going 63 and a 50.
120.
So it might have happened weeks ago or years ago. You might have some retroactive speeding tickets for doing your math work too quickly and making careless errors.
I did not make a carrot.
Reckless operation.
20 hands.
You know those like cops that are on the bridge.
Because, Lauren, could you imagine there's some students that they just want to get done?
Yeah.
They don't really carefully do their work. So they got their book already closed with 7 minutes to go in class, like, yeah, got it. I didn't really pay attention. I was just going to class.
Oh, that's a negative. That's a negative. I almost beat
When's your next game today? Johnny and Sawyer.
Hey, Joel.
Johnny.